Hey, real quick, before we dive into the show, did you know that Garage Gym Athlete is a lot more than a podcast? Most of you do know that, but if you didn't know, Garage Gym Athlete is first and foremost an amazing online community of supportive athletes. And secondarily, we are the best source of fitness programming on the internet. If you want to be part of the community or the results our programs produce, go to garagegymathlete.com and sign up for a 14-day free trial. If you're already an athlete, invite a friend and help us impact their lives in the best way we can. Hey, we don't run ads on this show, and we are fully supported by the community, so you've got to hear me plug this stuff every once in a while. Thanks for being awesome, and now to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jerred Moon here with Joe Courtney. What's up, Joe?
Yes, welcome. How's it going?
It's going well. We're talking about cold plunging today, which you love to do.
My least favorite thing.
Yeah. I mean, was my house the only time you've done a cold plunge? Like the one and only?
So, no, I've done it before when I was in going to like college days, going to doing sports and stuff. I would soak like half my body. And I think the plunge is way different than cold shower. But we can get more into that. So, plunge, I don't really mind because it's like you have to just get through the 30 seconds to 30 to 45 second shock. And then it's like, okay, now just breathe and maintain because you're pretty much going numb. And then it's just like after a couple of minutes, you're just, okay, I'll just 6 minutes, I'll get out of here and I'm good to go. I mean, you might be numb and kind of weird afterwards, but since you're immersed in it, it's more bearable after that initial shock.
Yeah. Have you noticed cold plunging becoming very popular?
I mean, I think it comes in waves for sure. Cause I think when we first started the podcast, I think we covered it and then it kind of went away and then other recovery stuff came and then we covered it again. And then it's just kind of going back and forth. And now I've definitely seen it more, especially like whether it's, it kind of goes also with products. Cause like these, barrels are coming out that are either just like regular barrels or like the inflatable ones that are more temporary and portable that I've seen people post. So I think it also reflects on the products coming out that get people into it. Like it's all of a sudden new science because these products are out.
Right. That's how I feel, because I love all this stuff. Like I love cold plunging and saunas. I love exercising. I really just love I'm just kind of a nerd on those things. But it's funny because my grandpa, I'm sure I've mentioned this at some point in the podcast, but he was the first person I ever saw who had a home gym. And so he dedicated an entire room to his house when I was growing up that always had dumbbells in there, like some cardio equipment. And then, I mean, I was probably only like 7 or 8 years old when he built this. In his basement, he built like a recovery room. I mean, this is a long time ago. This is before influencers and Instagram and everything else, right? And in this recovery room, he had a tub that could either go hot or cold, which you pay like $9,000 for now. And he just made it himself. He got like one of those big, like horse trough type things, not the silver ones you see today. It's like made out of this black plastic. And so he could change it to cold or hot water. It probably didn't get as cold as like ice cold, right? Like not like 38 degrees like some of these cold plunges do or whatever, but it get cold or hot. And then he also had a homemade sauna that he made out of like plexiglass and wood and like some sort of heater. So he had all these like recovery modalities with like no science. He had probably never read a study on any of these things. He was just like, I think that they're beneficial. And that was a big reason I kind of wanted like some of these things in my garage at some point, because I seen my grandpa do it and he's always been really fit. Like he's pretty healthy, late 80s right now, doing pretty well. So anyway, I have seen it gain a lot of popularity. And I think it's funny to watch all these like people fight over whether or not it's effective or not effective. And I think a lot of times when we get into these polarizing arguments, every damn thing's polarizing now. But when we get into these like polarizing arguments, sometimes people could just be missing the point altogether about any of it. Like what's not discussed in cold water immersion and any of this is whether or not there are any mental benefits to like depression or anxiety or recovery from pain, which I could talk more about with my brother. I will talk more about as we get into this a little bit more. But this specific study wasn't talking about any of that. And so I want people to know before we even get started, there can be a lot of reasons that you do anything. And it doesn't really matter if it's effective, ineffective, or whatever. Just do you and test it out for yourself and see what works. But the title of the study is Effects of Cold Water Immersion Compared with Other Recovery Modalities on Athletic Performance Following Acute Strenuous Exercise in Physically Active Participants. Get this, a systematic review, a meta-analysis, and a meta-regression, all done in 2022. So as in your face as you can get with like solid takeaways, and done recently. So this is a pretty legit study. So a total of 28 studies were reviewed, all including either physically active or participants who competed at any level of competition in any sport. They also required studies to compare cold water immersion to other recovery modalities and to measure exercise performance recovery, like strength and power, or physiological markers of recovery, DOMS, soreness. And lastly, the authors did not include studies that use a combination of cold water immersion with other recovery modalities, like if you use cold water immersion with compression garments, or you did something else like that. They didn't include it. So pretty interesting study. Again, meta-analysis. This is it's a study of studies, right? So they do a literature search. They find things that meet their parameters. They select the study. They extract the data. They do a meta-analysis. Then they do a meta-regression, which is like comparing even finer details in the study, like temperature of the water, and then they draw their own results and conclusion going through this scientific process. And the main reason they were doing it says the researchers conducted this study because previous studies investigating the effects of common recovery modalities such as cold water immersion, active recovery, and warm water immersion after acute strenuous exercise reported mixed results. They wanted to compare the effectiveness of CWI against other recovery methods to provide clearer evidence and guidance for athletes and coaches. And that is what they have done. So I'll jump to the takeaway, or not the takeaway, just like the overall, like what did they find? And then we can, talk more about this. But ultimately, the main takeaway is that cold water immersion is effective for promoting recovery from acute strenuous exercise in physically active populations when compared to other recovery modalities. CWI was found to be superior in reducing muscle soreness and comparable to other methods for the recovery of muscular power and flexibility. This evidence suggests that CWI can be a valuable recovery modality for athletes to consider incorporating into their post-exercise routines. All right. So, all that to say, seems to be very proven that it's okay and it's effective. But there are a lot of other things I think that we can unpack from this, and things that can be taken away. What did you think about this study as you looked at it?
This is one of the more vast recovery studies that we've done. We've done a few that compared other ones. Like there was the cold, there was compression, there was blood flows and stuff like that, to where it was on a much smaller scale. But this one had all these comparisons, and then on top of, I don't think I'd seen before of applying these recovery methods at 1 hour, 24-hour, 48-hour, and 72-hour intervals, which is really cool because to see which ones have the most effect at those certain times. So that I really liked, and there were some cool things that I guess never really thought of, but were some good takeaways. But yeah, this was just looking at performance, and while it's also one of those that this is good to do and not bad to do, but it's not going to make or break anything else that you're doing or not doing. Ultimately.
Yeah. And another thing that they pointed out said the authors found out that neither temperature nor immersion duration had a meaningful effect on any outcome variable, performance, or recovery, or at any specific time point, 1, 24, 48, or 72 hours. Because after I was like diving into it, I was like, okay, well, for the garage gym athlete, like, let's give them what they should do. Like, what's the temperature? How long? Like, that's what I was trying to find. And they were like, well, temperature doesn't matter. Duration doesn't matter. and it doesn't matter when you do it necessarily. So I was like, okay, so just I can't help you much more, athletes. When you dive into it like that, you can do it. I think most of the research, um, or a lot of the research I have seen is around 50 degrees, going down from there, like into the 40s. And if it's 50 degrees, it's normally longer. The research I've seen is like 8 to 10 minutes at 50 degrees. And then once you go down, it's obviously shorter durations that are required. But a lot of this is like killing inflammation, right? Like that's a big part of it. Um, and I tried to find that one study that we did because it's really, I want to go back. I think we should even like cover it again at some point. But, we did that one that had like all the recovery modalities, and it was like laying in the fetal position. There was like a light aerobic cardio, like all those things. I tried to look for it. But what I ended up finding in the process was how many times we've covered recovery. Um, like numbered podcast, number 132, strength recovery differences in male and females. Number 115 is tryptophan rich protein best for recovery. 71, episode 71, impact of varying dosages of fish oil on recovery and soreness. 39, episode 39, compression gear for improved recovery. Episode 14, grounding for improved athletic recovery and reduction in inflammation. It's always a cool one. And episode 5 is cold exposure worth it? Recovery 201. And what the ruck is the title of that episode. So we've covered it. We've even in that cold water immersion one, we were comparing cold water immersion versus cryotherapy, like the nitrogen gas style.
Yeah, and this made me want to almost look back on it because they did compare those, and it seems like cryotherapy is the only one that kind of supersedes or did better than cold water immersion.
When it
Which is
came to
kind of
strength and power, I think it was specifically when they were
yeah,
looking at all of the different things, the only thing that outperformed cold water immersion was the cryotherapy, and it was for strength and performance or strength and power related outcomes. So if that's an important thing to you, maybe consider doing the nitrogen gas style ones as opposed to the cold water immersion.
yeah. But it does seem that the 24 to 48 hour period is the best window for cold water immersion from a lot of the studies they picked out, which to me I think makes the most sense versus doing it right after, because the cold water it takes down your inflammation and then brings back new blood and does all the blood flow stuff to it. But if you're right when you get done working out, you haven't really had that inflammation yet. It hasn't really completely set in, and there's benefits to the inflammation anyway, which we've talked about in the past. So if you give your body, like, leave it alone, let it recover on its own for 24 hours, then do your immersion to lower the inflammation, bring all that blood back in, and that's what they found to be the best recovery, but more so on the muscle soreness side, the DOMS. So that was kind of interesting, and to me would be my first piece of a little bit of advice for garage gym athletes that are using this. Don't like get done working out and then hop in your cold bath. Maybe do your regular recovery stuff first, and then the next day do it.
Yeah, and one of the biggest negative things that come up when you start talking about cold water immersion is how it blunts muscle hypertrophy, or it has been proven in some studies that muscle hypertrophy can be blunted if you do cold water immersion. Um, and so I do think that's something that you need to take into account if muscle growth is very important for you. I've never really seen like how big of a deal that would actually be. So I'd only say like if you're a bodybuilder or a power lifter, you might want to stay away from it. So the rule of thumb there for that is um, without getting really scientific at all, is just try and separate them as far as possible. So don't get in if muscle growth is important to you. Don't get in cold water the second you finish a bodybuilding session or lifting session. Maybe wait to do that later. Try and separate them throughout the day. But at the same time, the question I would have for a garage gym athlete who's interested in doing it, and I'm a person who does it, so again, like I don't think I'm like hating on cold water. It's just like, why do you need to do it? Like, do you feel that you're not recovering? Like, because we're only talking about recovery here. We're talking about creatine kinase. We're talking about muscle soreness, perceived soreness in recovery, like just how you feel about it, these kind of things. Like, are you waking up after training? You train today, you wake up and you're like, I'm not recovered. And if you're saying you're not recovered, what are you basing that off of? Is it just a subjective feeling? Is it objective data from a wearable? Like, what's saying that you're not recovered? Because I don't think hour-long training sessions for the 99% of the people who are listening to this, I don't think your recovery matters that much. You might just be more like me. Like, it's a hobby. It's like a fun thing to do. It's not necessarily a requirement. But if you're doing really long runs or things that are beating up your body, this could be a great modality and a great tool. But I would just ask, why are you doing it? Like, the main reason I like to do cold exposure is because I don't want to. That's the main reason. And I never want to. Like, it doesn't matter how many times I've done it. I never want to get in cold water again. And it's amazing that, to be honest, I mean, you get used to like temperatures, but the mental battle of getting in, like if you just wake up in the morning first thing and you walk to a tub of cold water, that doesn't go away. It has not gone away from me. I'm like, do not want to get in. I don't do it every single day, but every day I do go, I'm just like, no part of me wants to do this right now. And it's hardest for me in the morning. So that's when I want to do it. I want to do it like if it's like in the middle of summer and I finish a workout in 100-degree garage, I want to get in cold water after. So the best time for me to do that is right when I wake up, my body is not very warm, getting in cold water. That's the main reason I do it. Most of the reason I do it is mental. I just killing comfort doing something I don't want to do on a regular basis.
Yeah, I'll definitely second on that one. I would be more, like I said, more likely to do the cold immersion. And for timing wise, I mean, if you already have a cold plunge, then that's whatever. But these more budget ones that are either inflatable or just like the barrels that you get into, I think that could be useful from time to time. And the times I thought that would be best to do it, if you do have one or want to do it more, on top of any mental benefits or whatever benefits, is like toward our training, like around week 3 or toward the end of week 3, because that's usually when training's ramping up the most, and then getting into deload week, like that would be a good time to do it, to add it in there, because you're not going to diminish anything like either hypertrophy or any sort of gains that are going on, but you could also help any sort of inflammation that might have built up. And maybe around fit week as
like
well.
During fit week, I think is a great time. Like because that's when performance still matters to us, right? It's not like a competition, but performance matters. And so we're trying to maintain as much as we can during that week. So I think that's a great time for it.
Yeah, that and during any event, like before and maybe right after your event, because events are all out. You are training, you are doing that for performance. You're not doing it to gain anything. And at the end of the event, you probably overexerted yourself. So you need to bring yourself back down, because again, you're not doing an event to get better. You're doing an event to test yourself. So I think those are the best times to do it, not just like, hey, it's a Wednesday, I went for, I did my normal upper body, lower body today, and I'm just going to jump in the cold bath, unless you just want to do it as a mental thing.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I'm saying is like,
yeah,
if it doesn't matter as much probably in your regular training. Yeah. If your volume's ramping up, or if you're in fit week for us, which is testing, or an event. What's funny is that most of the time I'm out of town for an event, but I would love nothing more to sit in a cold plunge for like 10 or 15 minutes after a hard event, because I do get really inflamed after I do like a long event.
We were in a cold plunge for 5 hours back at the Mill Spring Spartan.
Yeah, I guess somewhat. We were in a cold. It doesn't count. We needed like full cold water immersion after that one, because there's so much inflammation. You're right. Like if you're running a marathon or half marathon or doing a long Spartan race, beast or something, that's a great time to try and kill as much inflammation as possible. But we've covered so many studies now too, that when you get in the way of the body's natural process, that normally is not a good thing. This is kind of my takeaway from having read a lot of this stuff. We've done it. You have too many antioxidants, bad. Too much ibuprofen, bad. Right? Like there's too much. If you too much of these things that kill our inflammation can be good. There's a balance, like homeostasis there, that there's a certain level of inflammation that's good, and then too much is bad. But then if your body is accumulating inflammation, to improve and you blunt all that inflammation, let's say with cold water, or you do it with too many antioxidants, or you have too much ibuprofen or too much allergy medication, all the different things that we've covered, then you're not going to see as good of results as you could. So also inflammation is not always bad. Too much inflammation will kill you. But isn't that from Jumanji? It's like little water never killed anybody. And he said, a
Oh
lot will
yeah,
kill you. That's how I feel about inflammation. Little
there.
inflammation never killed anybody, but a lot will kill you.
We gotta make that meme.
Yeah, you heard it first on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
So you were going to say something at the beginning about cold showers. Were you going to mention that?
I just don't like them.
No, the fact that you don't enjoy cold showers. Yeah, I've recently
That's
been
definitely the
doing
mental
cold
side of it.
showers.
I don't think they've done. I mean, I guess I didn't see the specific what they constituted as cold water treatment versus cold water immersion. I don't know what the treatment was. That could be a cold shower. I think it's more on the mental side. Either way, there was absolutely nothing benefiting cold water treatment
Yeah, I can't
on the
see a cold
performance.
shower, unfortunately, doing much for you. It's just I don't feel like there's enough. Let's just call it stimulus or reduction in inflammation, unless you were to like hold the cold water like on your arm for a certain amount of time. And how cold does your water even get? I know Texas cold water doesn't get that cold. I mean, it kind of does in the winter, but there are other areas of the country where you flip your water all the way cold, and that's a huge mistake. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of that matters too.
So I think the timing of this is probably pretty good because we're getting into the warmer season, and like yeah, when it's 90 degrees out, it's not that big, not as big of a deal to jump into an ice bath and call it recovery, but just don't do it every day.
Yeah, and I said I would mention my brother because like there's so many reasons that you might want to do cold water immersion. So my brother, when he was working out with me last summer and most of last year, it took me forever to convince him to do the cold plunge, and then he finally did it. And if you haven't heard, my brother, is a disabled veteran and has a lot of problems and pain and issues with his knees, with his elbows, with his hips, like just a whole lot of problems um, from his time in the military. And he did it his first time. He has to take pain medication pretty frequently. And so he did it his first time, cold water immersion, and he didn't have to take pain medication, I think, for like 12 hours after he had done the cold plunge that day. And so there are a lot of other reasons that you might want to try it out, like for a reduction in pain. I also recently saw a study where they were on the mental health side of this, and that's why I brought it up. That feelings of depression and anxiety were alleviated through cold exposure, and this was not cold water immersion only. It was cold water immersion, cold showers, and different types of like cold therapy. So there seems to be a very strong mental benefit and pain reduction as well that people should consider if they are thinking about doing cold water or cold water immersion.
Yeah, and I wish I dove into it a little bit more, but I think there's also benefits to your nervous system with cold water immersion and all of that. And I just found another study that says what are the physiological mechanisms for post-exercise cold water immersion in the recovery from prolonged endurance and intermittent exercise. And this one sounds pretty interesting, but I'd have to dive in further. So there's a lot of cool research, and this that was in 2016, so not like the newest, but still not very old.
Still legit. Science is science. So
Yeah.
it's debunked.
And even this, I think it's sort of just reading the abstract. It seems like they've talked about people who use it too much tend to overtrain because they think they could just recover and then get back at it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the issue, right? Like if you reduce inflammation too much, it's kind of like people who pop 5 or 6 ibuprofen then do a workout. It's just kind of hilarious. Like that's like it's like a hardcore like power lifter mentality. Like, yeah, my body's broken, but I still got to lift this heavy weight. It's dumb.
Yeah.
All right, I think that pretty much wraps up the study. Anything else you want to say on this?
Nope. Just temper your expectations. Use it on occasion. and know that there's other benefits than just it's not gonna skyrocket your gains, but you still get some benefits out of it.
Yeah, I think we kind of talked about when we thought good ideas, like when you might want to use it, not use it, mental side of all these things, just like multiple mental sides. So like there is some science saying it can help with anxiety and depression. There's that side. Then there's also the killing comfort side of you don't want to do something, do it anyway, that you might want to entertain. But that's it. Life. How's your life, Joe? We're gonna move into just some regular old updates now.
Nothing special. I mean, I'm trying to focus on some running and conditioning, especially now that the weather's getting better. I feel like I have a form issue going on with my running that I need to get assessed. I think I don't know if it's like a heel strike or I'm just not using my pushing off with my foot as much because I've had Achilles issues in the past. So I think I'm just overcompensating. That's causing my right hamstring to be much more sore after even zone 2 runs. So it's something I'm working on, and I need to go and maybe have somebody actually look at my stride or how I'm striking, or even get new shoes. But I do want to try and, because it's getting into that running season, that it's gonna be a new focus or another focus.
Just don't run.
All
Hamstring problem solved.
All right, I'll just get on the bike and that's it.
Yeah, just do the airdyne 100% of the time.
I mean, everything I've been doing for Hard to Kill, everything I have been doing for all the intervals and on the 40-minute EMOMs have been on the airdyne. And I just did Condition Me to the Grave and I did it this past week, and the last time I did it was December, so about 4 months difference. And my airdyne times went way up or way down. They got way better.
Yeah,
they got way better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was, I guess, a positive side effect. My run times were still trash, but my airdyne got better.
Well, so is your time getting better or just airdyne times?
Well, my exact time, my time was the exact same time that I got the first time.
Oh,
it's like my runs were trash. My rowing got slower because I haven't rowed at all. My airdyne got way better, and that was it. So it just kind of evened out to where I finished at the exact same time.
Yeah, Condition Me to the Grave is a tough one to. There's a lot of mental and physical push on that one to maintain paces. Why don't you just use the pacing card and just follow the pace?
No, I can't do that. I can't do I didn't even look at it. I can't do the run pace for sure. I think I could do the row and maybe the bike on the first one. I don't remember what the row was.
I don't remember either. I always have to look at the pacing card, but I know like I can't do that workout if I don't have the pacing card. Because if you just like let me loose and just do it, I'll probably get time capped because I'll end up going too slow somewhere. But when I see the pacing card like staring me in the face on the airdyne or something, I know what I have to like maintain. Very difficult workout.
Yeah, I finished the 50s with 2 minutes left. That's where my sticking point is. So
you're getting close. 25s go fast.
I mean, that's like I still have like 10 minutes because my run is so slow on during the workouts during that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Cool. Yeah, I've just been plugging away. I love 40-minute EMOMs. I think instead of running, that's just going to be my conditioning from now on. Is just I'm not going to do running monostructural activities anymore. I think I'm only going to condition with like grunt work. So like put a sandbag on my shoulder and walk and do some random stuff. But no, I've been having a lot of fun this cycle.
You're right on the cusp of the heat coming for Dallas. So EMOMs in that is just like your heart rate's never down. Like even if you finish in 30 seconds, you're still not really recovering. So that's going to get bad.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the heat though. It's been kind of slow to get here. Normally I feel like it's already hot, but I'm looking forward to the heat, getting in some brutal workout sessions. And if you are a part of Garage Gym Athlete, make sure you are a part of our community. So we did change from Facebook group over to Circle not that long ago. So if you haven't joined, go ahead and email us. We have put links everywhere, but if for some reason you haven't joined yet, you're one of our straggler athletes, go ahead and join, and let us know if you haven't joined, and we'll make sure that you're in. If you're a part of the Facebook group right now, you can actually go there too and just find the link. We have it in there, so you can come join us. I don't even check Facebook anymore, so yeah, come join us over in the online community. We're focusing on that a lot this year. But that's about it. I don't think I have anything else, so we'll wrap this one up. Cold water immersion, take it or leave it. Seems to be proven. My favorite recovery modality is still always going to be light aerobic exercise because it is very proven and super easy to do and free for all athletes out here. You don't have to spend anywhere between $4,000 and $18,000 for some sort of cold plunge device. You can just hop on a bike and get most of the same benefits, if not, let's say 98% of the same benefit. So anyway, that's it for this one for all of our athletes. Thanks for sticking around. If you want to be a part of what we're doing, go to garagegymathlete.com and sign up for a free trial. Remember, if you don't kill comfort, comfort will kill you.